Reading is basic, but for these kids, it's a real problem. They are 1 to 4 years behind their grade level in reading skills. So for a short time each day, they come here, where reading specialists perform miracles. Education is one-on-one, discipline tight, and these kids learn. But Administrator Robert Brown faces at least a 20% cut in the program and possible cancellation. He sees a loss to society and a disservice to kids who need special help to read.
I think the immediate effect of terminating federal aid to education would be you're going to have a lot of children who are getting help who no longer will be helped except in the regular classroom, which is to some extent overloaded in this area. We'll take the federal funds we receive, use it to train children who will get out and become taxpayers rather than tax burdens.
This reading program helped more than 6,000 Oklahoma City school children catch up with the rest of their classmates and learn to read. Unless more money comes from somewhere to save the program, other children who need help to read in the future may never learn as well as they could. Sue Lauer, Action 4.
Meanwhile, things were moving at a faster pace in Norman as OU students, graduates, and faculty participated in the first walk, jog, crawl-a-thon at Owen Field.
Come on, guys, let's go, 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 go.
A good crowd was on hand to cheer on some of Oklahoma's great athletes from the past. Lucius Selmon signed a few autographs. Billy Sims acknowledged the cheers. Even the university president showed his stuff. And there was this gentleman who knew the money raised would go for a good cause.
We're working at a deficit this year, and we've got a lot of things we need to, in all programs, not just football, but minor sports programs need some help. And I think it's a great idea. It's created a great atmosphere, great turnout, and great participation. I really appreciate all the ex-great athletes coming back here and all the people that have come just to give their time and effort to make this a success.
Oklahoma officials hoped the fundraiser would become an annual event. The success of this year's run was enough to make any OU fan jump head over heels. Bill Ross, Action 4, Norman.
About 85% of the wheat produced in Oklahoma is exported. When President Carter issued the Soviet grain embargo in January of 1980, the price of wheat dropped. So some farmers were expecting it to increase when the embargo was lifted. But the price has stayed about the same. State Agriculture Commissioner Jack Craig wasn't surprised, and he says he doesn't expect an increase even in a few months.
Well, you can look at the latest wheat stocks report and find out we got more wheat on hand than we had a year ago, and these type things. Prospect of at least an average crop, maybe a little above average this year, so I don't see any increasing in the wheat prices.
Agriculture Commissioner Craig also pointed out that if it weren't for the oil and gas industry in the state, a large number of farmers would be forced to sell their land. Craig said it's almost impossible to make a living when wheat is $4 a bushel. Ben McCain, Action 4 at the state capitol. "23-year-old Kevin Hansen works for the Young Adult Conservation Corps. It's a government work program for people between the ages of 18 and 23. In order to get this job, you have to go through a state employment service. It doesn't pay much, about $3.50 an hour, but it's worth it to Hansen.
Well, I've been here for 6 months now, and I've learned how to drive all different types of heavy machinery, including dump truck and dozers.
Melvin Parker is another Corps employee. When he and Hanson heard the news that the Reagan administration is planning to phase out this program in September, they were, to say the least, disappointed. Disappointed for themselves as well as for others.
If they keep it open, more people can learn more, have a better chance of getting a better job.
One of the guidelines in this program is that the young adults can only work 1 year for the Corps. Most of them feel it's great training for better paying jobs. This fishing dock at Lake Thunderbird is one of several construction projects the young people from the Corps have completed this year. There are 40 people from the government program working at the Little River State Park. They build everything from fishing docks like this one to complete campground facilities.
I think it's a worthwhile program. I think it's one of the very few programs that actually returns to Oklahomans more than they actually invest in it as taxpayers.
The director says his program is being phased out because so many similar programs like this one have failed. He says the Corps saves taxpayers a great deal of money. For example, most of the equipment they use is Army surplus. Barham hopes Oklahomans will write or call their congressman saying they want to keep the program. He added that the Corps not only saves tax money, but it gives young people great experience. Ben McCain, Action 4, Little River Park. These young men are part of a government program that will be phased out soon. This means they'll lose their jobs. I'm Ben McCain, and I'll tell you more about this coming up on Action 4.
See what we're trying to do is we're trying to say people come down here just for the purpose of picking lines and getting clients.
Need to contact an attorney to prepare the proper papers as far as filing the papers to get a new trial. Talking about opening up.
See what we're trying to do is we're trying to say people come down here just for the purpose of picking lines and getting.
Most of our calls are of a rather general nature. We have a lot of calls that ask questions about wills and probate of the estate. We have a lot asking about divorce, family law, custody of a child. We often get calls regarding real estate matters. A neighbor's fence is encroaching on my property, this sort of thing.
The Santa Fe Railroad Company pumped an extra $11 million into its tracks just so it could hook up with General Motors. A 4-mile stretch was cut across the land, and now 65 carloads of automobiles move across the tracks every day. The rail business has picked up so much with new businesses moving in that this Santa Fe stopping point is the 4th busiest in the country. In 10 years, this area may look like a maze of railroad tracks and become a huge industrial center.
The time is right. Conrail in the northeast is beginning to crumble. The heavy industry that's located on those lines will be forced to relocate where transportation is stable. And we must, at this critical time, have a stable transportation capability in the state of Oklahoma, and that's what we're attempting to do.
And so, at a time when other parts of the country are experiencing economic stagnation, Oklahoma is picking up steam and moving full speed ahead. Bella Shaw, Action 4.
It's been a long day for employees at the Quick Test Marketing Research Firm in Crossroads Mall. Their supervisor, Ann Murray, is usually here at work, but today she was returning from a vacation in Ireland when her plane was hijacked to France.
and her friends in Oklahoma have been worried.
We really don't think anything's going to happen to her, but we feel bad for what she must be going through right now. We're optimistic that she'll be home safe and everything, but we're really concerned about how she's taking it now and things like that.
At home, Mrs. Murray's husband, father, and 8 of her children have been keeping a close watch for any news of the hijacked plane. And even though her trip home to Ireland hasn't been spoiled by the hijacking, it's been a rough day for loved ones who've been waiting it out in Moore.
We have about 5 phones here, and we're keeping all the lines open. We're in contact. The State Department has been in contact with us. We're in contact with both Braniff Airlines and Irish Airlines, together with our relatives in Ireland who are immediately on the spot.
Anne Murray is scheduled to be back in Oklahoma City on Monday afternoon. Her family and friends are optimistic that she won't have to change those plans, and they say she'll have quite a tale to tell when she comes home. Jane Boone, Action 4 at Will Rogers World Airport.
Line got lost. We got a hold of them, a pager number.
It's just as if the various cities joined together and said, we each have a vote and we're going to join together to work together to raise funds for the benefit of a particular community's utility. It doesn't give them the right to buy, acquire, or set rates of privately owned utilities, or even one in competition such as GRDA, which is a publicly owned entity.
This would be a new way of creating investment money for generating plants, whether needed or not. Whether or not, in fact, the language in here says the payment's guaranteed even if there's no delivery of the product or service from those plants. So it's again another no-risk venture for the utilities to enter into agreements with a 7-member board without any check or balance from the people, guaranteeing in actuality the bonds without a vote of the people and utilization of taxes to guarantee those bonds that have been issued without a vote of the people.
The trust has offered ad valorem and sales tax breaks to its clients and could finance industrial construction with tax-exempt low-interest bonds. However, due to recent Attorney General rulings, the newly created Oklahoma County Industrial Authority can't offer those big tax breaks. Instead, the OCIA can only entice new industry to the area by promising tax-exempt low-interest construction financing. At least one local official says the new trust won't be able to compete for new industry with surrounding states willing to offer a better deal.
I think we have seen the end of our industry here in Oklahoma unless we can get some laws changed. They're not eager to come to Oklahoma. We've got any number of industries just ready to make a move to get out of the frost belt. And when our neighboring states can offer them these things, well, naturally that's where they're going.
It's a self-appointed, the Oklahoma Industries Authority is a self-appointed phantom government operating in the shadows. But now, sunshine given by the Oklahoma Supreme Court is going to bring a lot to light. Sunshine keeps public officials operating properly and kills germs.
Judge Raymond Nafee said he was not going to let a threat on his life less than 24 hours ago intimidate him. Today was the second attempt to formally sentence Clifford Henry Bowen, who has been convicted of killing 3 people last year. Defense attorney Jack Zimmerman made one final argument on a motion for a new trial. Judge Nafee denied the request, and soon after pronounced sentencing on 3 counts of murder.
Likewise, I do, by the authority vested in me, by the laws of the state of Oklahoma, pronounce that you shall be fully and legally put to death by legal injection.
Defense attorney Zimmerman still contends he thinks there was enough new evidence presented to declare a new trial. Today's action will be appealed.
The main contentions are going to be that the evidence that was presented was insufficient, circumstantial evidence.
Judge Nafee later described to reporters the threat he received at home shortly after midnight.
Asked me if I was Judge Nafee, and I said yes. He said to the effect, if you sentence Henry Bowen, he didn't call him Clifford Bowen, he said, if you sentence Henry Bowen to death, you're a dead man, period, hung up.
Judge Nafee says that although the threat on his life was probably a prank, no chances could be taken. The Bowen trial and sentencing is finally over now, but Judge Nafee is still under some type of security. He won't say what for obvious reasons, and the situation will stay that way until, as the judge puts it, this case is finally out of the limelight. Ed Stewart, Action 4 at District Court.
I'll admit that when I went to see Lion in the Desert with Anthony Quinn and Oliver Reed, I was wanting to find out if it was different from Lawrence of Arabia with Anthony Quinn and Peter O'Toole. There is a difference. Lawrence of Arabia is better. Lion in the Desert takes place in pre-World War II Libya and Italy. Mussolini is trying to expand the Roman Empire in the name of fascism, and he's been meeting some resistance in the Libyan desert for 20 years. Anthony Quinn plays Omar Mukhtar, the 73-year-old Muslim teacher who leads the Libyan rebels. Oliver Reed plays the Italian General Graziani, who finally captures him.
Why did you keep going for so long? I mean, surely you didn't hope to drive us out of Libya with so little, did you?
We fought you. That was enough.
And you cared nothing about the ruination of your country.
You are the ruination of my country. What would you do if someone occupied your land?
Did you ever think how your attacks, my sir, seemed to us? Ambush, murder by night, deception by day, threats against the farmers.
Farming our land. Libya is not your country. You have no right in it. Not to the pasture one cow. Not 1 minute of right.
Quinn and Reed and a few supporting actors are the cohesion to an otherwise disjointed movie. The acting isn't bad. The complaints everyone has are technical. It's shot well, but the editing is poor, and it seems like a high-dollar Libyan government film that tells the story of a Libyan martyr. Another problem, and this seems to be a problem with a lot of films lately, is that everyone has an English accent, especially the Libyans. The theory seems to be that a wrong accent is better than a bad one, and an English accent must legitimize a film to an American audience. It was disappointing. But I guess it wouldn't have been quite so bad if the Libyans sitting behind me hadn't been translating. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4.
Subsidized housing program. I think that no one would, and hopefully we will. You can look to the future and all of the enthusiasm and challenges that are before one when they are graduating. And you don't need to somehow worry about the budget or foreign affairs. Your life is before you, and you know, there never seem to be that many worries that are directly there. You tend to live for the moment as well as for the future.
Just before 7 this morning, a sniper using a high-powered rifle fired 20 to 25 rounds across this strip mine into the Garland Coal Company offices. 3 of those bullets penetrated the wall, and 1 hit a 35-year-old security guard in the leg. The injury was slight, and work continued in the mine today, just as it has since the strike began. The Garland Company is using non-union labor. Today's incident was the first act of violence since the walkout in the LaFleur County coal fields. Company officials would not comment, but a beefed-up security force indicates they believe the shooting was strike-related. Roadblocks set up at the entrance screened everyone entering the area and turned back news media and striking workers. Coal miners have been on strike here in eastern Oklahoma for the past 43 days. They don't know who is responsible for the incident this morning, but they know it wouldn't be to their advantage. They say it would be to the company's advantage, however, to stage the shooting. Violence would enable Garland to get a court order removing the picket outside their gate. The union workers see no need for violence. They say they are doing all they wanted to do with peaceful methods.
From what we've been told, we've pretty well got their coal shut down. The railroad said that they would not hook onto their cars and move it. CFI, which is out in Colorado, who they sell their coal to, has said that they will not buy it and cannot buy it. So why would we wouldn't benefit by doing anything like that? All we have to do is sit here and maintain a peaceful picket.
Law enforcement officials say there are no suspects in the shooting. Since it was an isolated incident and no one was hurt seriously, it could be quickly forgotten when the coal starts moving again. Ted Brown, Action 4 in LaFleur County.
Now, this contains a number of items, bits of information last 50 years. 50 years from now, that Mr. Reagan discrepancies 500,000 people get way below Social Security because they don't have the time in. And we need this. They suffer if they don't get it. This is our money, not the government's money. We've earned this money under an agreement. Now, I hope that the press won't be so dense they can't see that, but obviously they are.
How does that make your cost of living needs any greater?
For 2 years, Bill Bush had lived in the 1900 block of Andover Court without any problems. And this Wednesday started like any other day. But there was an unwelcome surprise waiting for him in his driveway. Someone had broken into his car.
I opened the door and I looked in. The first thing I noticed was my dash had been torn up. And I looked over a little bit further and noticed my radio was missing.
Mr. Bush wasn't the only victim.
First thing I noticed was the ashtray had been cleaned out, and then really shocked me was when the radio was completely gone, and I noticed then that the dash was torn up. This is supposed to be a nice, quiet neighborhood, and nothing like this has ever happened around here, so it's really a surprise.
By noon, the village police had received 15 complaints about cars in a 2-block area being vandalized. But there's not a lot they can do.
This is very hard to stop. The only thing we can do is to increase our patrols in the area. As you know, that a patrol car going down the street late at night, someone out here committing a crime like that, all they have to do is jump behind the bushes, jump behind another car, wait till the patrol car goes on down the street.
Detective Wingert says there are 3 things you can do to protect your car. First, make sure the doors are locked and the windows are shut. Second, don't leave any valuable items on the seat. And finally, leave on a porch light that shines on the car. Bill Ross, Action 4, The Village.
All we did was paint the outside of this building. So it keeps the old structure here and reminds everybody that of what was here at one time.
Plus, they don't build them like they used to.
They don't build them. As you look around here, you can see the concrete in this building. It's going to be here for a long time to come.
But I think the effect of the Noni versus Cannon decision is to cloud up that clear reading, and I think if that were not entered, I think...
Proceeding upon this statute. And I did argue in that proceeding that she had the equivalent of 3 life sentences, but of manslaughter in the first degree. Therefore... Well, it's been a position in the state all along that Rita Noni should not have been admitted to bond. However, in this case, you've got to differentiate the two. In Rita Noni, you're talking about a manslaughter conviction. In manslaughter, there's no premeditation. In this case, we're talking about a first-degree murder conviction in which a jury of 12 people found that Robert Keller did premeditate, did plan this murder. So you're talking about 2 separate categories of crime.
Over the years, a Cadillac has become a symbol of wealth in America, and more recently, a symbol of conspicuous consumption. A Cadillac buyer doesn't worry about things like gas mileage. What he's looking for is a luxurious interior, a car that floats down the road, a car that says he's made it, and a big car that says he's made it in a big way. Size, that's what distinguishes a Cadillac. So what is this? Believe it or not, it's a Cadillac, their version of General Motors' new J car. The big question now is, who wants a compact Cadillac?
The American public wants a small automobile. It's been demonstrated in the sale of the foreign-make automobile. Cadillac is now trying to capture some of those lost sales.
They plan on doing that by taking big car luxury and transferring it to a car half the size. Luxuries like leather trim interior and power windows. Little things for a little car with a big price, from $13,000 to $15,000. Ted Brown, Action 4 in downtown Oklahoma City.
Parker Drilling Company is building this massive rig. It's only fitting that the world's largest land drilling rig be constructed by Parker, because this Oklahoma-based company is the largest drilling contractor in the world. Close to $10 million is the amount of money going into this project. About 150 men are working on this giant rig. Once it's completed, it will be moved to Beckham County.
We're building this rig for GHK Corporation, which is an Oklahoma City-based independent operator. It will be torn down here in Dale City and moved by truck to Elk City to be rigged up.
Jerry Irwin is the administrative manager for the company's Oklahoma division.
The record depth right now is right around 32,000 feet. This rig's capable of drawing 50,000 feet or a little bit better, and we're going to try to discover some unexplored pockets of gas.
When this rig is assembled, it will stand more than 200 feet tall. Parker Drilling Company started putting this massive rig together in March. They're expecting to have it completed in a matter of days. In fact, on June 1st, U.S. Energy Secretary James Edwards will be here for dedication ceremonies. Ben McCain, Action 4 in Dell City.
Paramedics worked feverishly to save the lives of 4 people involved in a serious accident early this evening. Witnesses say a maroon Chevrolet slammed head-on into a blue Camaro during rush hour traffic. Dwight Edwards was driving home from work when the maroon car sped past him.
He passed me doing at least about 75 or 80 miles an hour. And he tried to miss this van, and that's what made him go over the center line and hit this other car here, this blue car here.
Head on.
Head on.
The woman driving the blue Camaro died at Oklahoma Memorial Hospital a few hours ago. Her 2 children were treated and released. The driver of the maroon car is in critical but stable condition. Motorcycle officer Don Dunsmore suffered leg injuries in another accident while responding to the first wreck. Scott Wallace, Action 4, Northeast Oklahoma.